Caught me a little bit there.
Did you make it back in time?
3 seconds is not enough time to make it back to your seat.
I wouldn't know because I can't even see that far away.
I'm telling
you. I can barely see us. I mean, I know it's over there, but...
We spread you guys back a little bit further so we could see a little bit more, but you're smaller, but it's nicer maybe. Let us know. So we're just trying to capture more of the environment that we're talking from so we could carry on a little more easier conversation than sitting on the edge of the chairs. We thought you might appreciate a little more leisure discussion that we have this time.
Yeah, we're trying to do different. Of course, I'm trying to share, and it is giving me a difficult time as, okay,
we're making some new improvements. We've got a new website that we've done, and we're upgrading the Facebook, and we've got a new laptop. So there's some new things that we're going to try and pull together in the next couple of weeks.
Working on some stuff.
And, pull some of this stuff together and kind of up our game a little bit here.
Trying to get more professional, but I have to say, part of my problem is I'm working really hard at the office.
Yeah.
And then I'm working really hard at this, and I'm doing really well at both. I am not putting myself down, but I'm just not where I want to be yet on this side of it.
But you're plenty tired.
But I'm definitely tired. So.
And I wish that microphone was a lot closer. Because I don't talk very loud.
No, you don't. And I talk really loud.
I'm the quiet
so you
one,
can hear me.
and she's the one. We've been told a lot. I'm the quiet one, and she's the chatty one. You're loud. I'm quiet. That's not true. It is on here. Seemingly.
He talks a lot, I can tell you. Can you...
Maybe so.
Text him and tell him to be quiet.
Y'all can't hear my son playing in the background.
Yes, they can, because I can.
Well, we're going to informally, while we're warming up right here.
Okay,
we'll take care of that situation.
Well, what we're going to do, our dogs are running around. Tonight is just a really crazy night, and I don't know why. But anyway, we are going to change our topic because we had originally decided we were going to talk about, as he comes back to the thing, one of the things we were going to talk about originally was, does your spouse disgust you?
That's right.
And that's still a topic to be had.
That does not apply to me.
No. Not at all.
It better not.
Nope. And there is a funny story with that, because I did tell him one time he was disgusting, and he was like, don't ever say that to me again. So, anyway, it was kind of funny. It was a little funny. Well, I thought it was. Because the part that I was saying you were disgusting about, it was disgusting. But it's not what people think. So I'm going to
sit up here and make sure our microphone's turned all the way. Yeah. All right. You got as much of me as you're going to get.
Okay. So tonight's topic is actually...
It's probably in the picture.
What really matters. And I know if this is your first time seeing us, we've gone all across the different... trying to decide what we want to do for the last couple of years and year and a half, and it's we're still not where we want to be, so we're working on it. And I can't see.
But you're where we want you to be.
Well, yes.
Right,
I mean, when I say we're not where we want to be, it's like the professional side of it.
Yeah.
So, but like he talked about earlier, we've got this new website.
Yep.
You know, YouTube is caught up, Facebook's caught up. We've updated everything. It's just a matter of getting this part, you know, starting the live without it having a way to, without having to go across. But we're still trying to even figure out this part. We've stood up, we've sat closer, you know, but I kind of like, this is the part that I wanted to do. This is what I've been begging him to do for a long time. And that is to where we just sit and talk to each other about our topics instead of just at people.
Right.
And include them, because I think it's actually, we wind up having so much better of a conversation.
See, what you guys miss a lot of the time, we've said this before, but so that everyone kind of gets on the same page, more times than not, we're sitting down, we have an idea, and we start spitballing, and somewheres along the way, an epiphany happens. But we can never do that on live, so because it'd have to be like a reality show where we're always on. But so those are the moments that are actually the most entertaining, because we'll laugh out loud at some of the things that we're saying and doing. So we're going to try and mock some of those things in here, and we are starting to establish ways for us to capture some of those moments, even driving down the road. Sometimes we're like, oh, wished we had that on
Yeah.
camera. So some dash cam footages are going to possibly be coming and things of that nature, which ought to add a whole new dimension to some of the things that we're doing.
We have so many conversations, y'all just don't even know. It's really funny because that is just what we do all the time. Oh, I've messed
we're
up.
driving down the road, something will happen, and all of a sudden we're into it. It's like, boom, there's a topic. And it's just funny because anything can segue into a topic. It can
Everything
be anything from
segues into
it
a
can be
topic.
anything from a radio
Everything
to someone in a
segues.
car to somebody cutting me off to it could be anything.
Right.
And when you look in relationships and how they impact your society as well as your family, it's everywhere because those are the generational. These are the things that generate the living environment that we live in. So there's always stuff to draw from. And it's going to be fun.
Okay, so
But
enough
today
about
you
business.
told them about changing the topic, right?
I did.
Yeah?
I mentioned it, and
Why'd you do that?
well, that's kind of the whole
She
point.
pulled an
now.
audible on me.
I
here.
did, and I totally threw this together at the end of the day today because of the day we had. And I'm sorry, I'm adjusting. My feet are too short, and they can't touch the ground on our furniture. And I usually have an ottoman, and I don't right now. My leg hurts because I was sitting over here with them all up in the air. So I'm adjusting. Anyway, y'all don't care about that.
No.
So today we drove out. Okay, we've told y'all before we've driven out to Sealy for a project that you have at your office, and so we were heading out to Sealy again today. This is like our second or third time now, and we have some very special friends that live in Sealy that I've known since I was, I don't know, 17-ish, somewhere in that neighborhood.
Yeah.
Well, probably closer to 19. Not that that makes that big a difference because it's still more than 30 years. But so I've known them forever, and that's the church. They were my pastor that gave me some really good advice in that time of my life that I needed. But when I met him, he was the pastor of the church that we were attending when he found Christ, and so there's just and we went to their church for years.
Yeah.
For 10,
that's a church that's just
10,
down
12
the road
years,
right here now that they've long since
that
moved from.
we went to the church with them. So when we were in Sealy, that's where they live, and we decided we'd go see them. And I messaged them this morning and said, "Hey, what are y'all doing? Maybe we can go to lunch, right?" And
I said, "Do it."
Last minute, and he said, "Here's my phone number. Give me a call." So we did, and they're just really precious people. And the whole time we were talking, and because you saw, you and Clyde were able to talk, and Joyce and I were talking, and it was just, this is one of my sets of parents, okay, guys? These are people that I love, and it meant so much to her, and it's been a long time. This is where the What Really Matters comes
There
in tonight.
comes.
It's the only time I've seen them in the last few years is at a funeral.
That's where we see a lot of family, a lot of old family.
Is at a funeral, and you hear that about
Yep.
family reunions is that you only see each other at funerals and maybe weddings,
Right.
And here I would say it's only been at funerals, and it really, so it kind of tugged at my heartstrings, and somewhat guilt at the same time, because why have we not? And there's not really any reason except that we're busy.
Busy, make the effort. Yeah.
But at the same time, the flip side is we don't have to pressure ourselves to go see them, every month or every week.
Right.
We can just schedule a couple of times a year even. But Sealy's not that far away from us.
Amazingly
So-
not. You'd be amazed at how. Always think, oh, it's a couple hours. No, 45 minutes down the road, an hour in traffic.
Okay, so
Not a big deal.
we decided that we were going to come up with 6 topics
Yep.
that matter in life. What are those topics?
Well, mine was out of order.
I know.
All right, so this so the point of telling them the story was
I decided that we were going to talk about what really matters in life, and not just, 'cause we spend a lot of time on relationships, but usually it's our marriage and family. And this time it's just kind of going to be basically in general, that includes the family, as they call them, friends that are family. And definitely put these people in that category. They are...
Everybody's got somebody who's
Everybody's
special
got a
and
friend
extended.
that you would
We're real
classify
big.
as family.
A lot of families...
Okay, I have a lot of friends that are family.
Some families are real big on extended family. If you become special to you, you're part of the family.
I have a lot of blood relatives that are not really family, and I have a lot of friends that are, and I think that's normal with most people. Not that I don't love my blood relatives. It's just
not
that
with my family.
There's not a lot of there's just not as much interaction with them in any of the direction, and it's just it just is the way it is. It doesn't mean that the blood relatives
so
are
it
not
hit us
important.
as we're driving down the road. You know what? The same message comes to us all the time. We're driving down the road. That is a what really matters topic, and we do that all the time. But this one hit us, so it was fresh, and we thought we would do it, and we'd come back and talk about some of those issues. So we got together, and we put together some things. So we'll be talking to each other about these ideas that we've kind of put together, and we'll share with you.
I know, I just listed them, and I just put them down here in a random order, and then we went back and changed them.
Right.
And I asked you to put them in what order that you thought they should be in. So what did you have
and
as
people
number
could
one?
put them in different orders, but here's my order, and I think this is, you could change it a little bit and still think, I'd still say it was in pretty good order. Number one is going to be relationships. We're so big on relationships because if you don't have those, obviously it's a lonely existence, etc. So number one is relationships. Number two is health. Obviously, if you're in very poor health, it's very difficult.
We're going to talk about each of these topics.
We're going to run through. I'm just running through the list of the 6 major themes. So relationships and health, and then meaning, the meaning that you have
for your life. Mm-hmm.
And then a contribution or achievement that you can develop. That's number 4. Number 5 is happiness.
And we're going to talk about happiness versus joy as well.
And number 6, the bottom of my list, I actually put wealth. A lot of people move that up higher.
Money.
And we found that wealth doesn't buy you happiness. In fact, it actually, in so many cases, wealth actually allows you to indulge in so many areas that gets you in trouble, and it creates challenges in your life. And if you have these other things set out in the right order and wealth comes in, it actually becomes a support mechanism as opposed to something that takes away from so many parts of your life. So wealth can be a part of this that can lift you up. It can also be a destruction element in relationships.
So,
absolutely.
Okay.
So number 1, relationships.
Right. And we've learned, we were talking earlier, we've learned, especially with this COVID thing going on.
We have.
It's really, really hard for me because I'm a hugger and I need my hugs, and not just from you. I need my hugs from my friends, but God created us that we shouldn't be alone. And I know when He created Adam, he said, and we actually talked about this part today. He said, He looked at Adam and said, man should not be made, should not be alone, and He created Eve. And that was kind of the husband and wife thing, and I get that. But He didn't create us to be alone. We were created to commune with Him, and that means we were meant to commune with each other.
Right.
And not be locked in a house. So that's been very devastating for some people, and you can see that in relationships.
Extremely, yeah.
So I think at the top...
So with the COVID kind of severing so many relationships, it created a dynamic. So now all of a sudden you do have a barrier.
Right.
Before, the barrier was usually self-imposed.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden this thing being imposed on us.
Well, and when you look at relationships, some of the people that went through this are living alone.
Right.
And so now they're locked in a house by themselves
Probably
for
scared,
however long.
Yeah.
And
Lonely.
they're scared and they don't have anybody. And even if they're Christian and they're talking to God and that kind of stuff, it's still very difficult. And then there are some that are locked in a house with not a great marriage or family or parents or whatever. So you've got the other dichotomy from that.
You got a family of 9 that are imposed on each other.
Yes, and they hate each other.
And they've never dealt with it. And that's where we started realizing relationships being so important, because if you're alone, by yourself, that's an impact. If you have a family of 9, that's an impact. And if you haven't dealt with so many of the issues that we talk about at What Really Matters, and you haven't dealt with communication and knowing each other and having some intimacy, as well as a variety of other issues, you don't know how to interact with 9 people forced into a situation like that. It's an unnatural
and it
environment.
is forced. It's not even
It
even with you and
yeah.
me. We've been really honest. I mean, it was really difficult for you not to be with me because we're together all the time, but
Right.
because the government said you have to be with me.
Right.
And now that makes it no fun.
Well,
when it was a choice, it was fine.
It changes the temperament of your mind, because before it was a choice, now it's become so. Excuse me for a minute if I say that it was imposed, but it was. So therefore, there's a little rebellious spirit in me that's like, well, I don't like the idea of someone, So and we'll get that just goes into another topic, but so it makes it it's perception that changes, and that perception gets carried through an attitude and judgment and actions and words. So we had to adjust those things, but you had to recognize it. So our point being, recognizing these things through having some of the tools that we talk about on a regular basis helps you identify how to deal with relationships. Once you get your relationship started and you start focusing on that, you start to see these next things coming in line. Number 2 was...
Well, I want to go back to relationships, because this one's the biggest one in my opinion. And so today we went out there for the project, and we go, and I messaged them and asked them if we can see them, and they meet us for lunch, and we wound up being with them for like 3 hours. It was amazing. It was so good. And one of the things that I had talked about with you was that, I haven't seen them except if we go to funerals, which is, my bad. But I would see even on
That's
Facebook.
Not a great place to have a really,
you don't get to
the right
have
kind
fun.
of conversation.
But, we caught up at those. But, so today, what I was, I was going back in my mind about all these things. Sometimes you see posts on Facebook where there's different pockets of people that are together, and you're like, why wasn't I there? Well, why didn't they call me and include me? I know these same people, you know what I mean? And at the same time, the reality is, well, have you been calling these people yourself? The phone goes both ways. So the part that really moved me today was, and then with Lori, I had a friend that passed away 2 weeks ago, maybe 3 now. It's been a while, 3 or 4 weeks ago. And I didn't take a phone call, and I didn't call her back because I didn't write it down, and I got busy and it wasn't important. And technically it was important. I just didn't write it down, so I forgot because we're busy.
Right.
And so part of this is we're going to go into how to. So when she called, she passed away like a week later, and I missed that phone call, and I didn't call her back. I don't hate myself for it at this point. At the beginning, I was very upset with myself. But what it tells me is, what I didn't do, which is what we're going to talk about, is prioritize. And what should have happened, I should have looked and said, she called twice. Let me write this down. I know I can't talk right this second, but let me call her back.
That was an extraordinary thing for her to call.
It was.
We don't communicate that often.
Nope.
So it was a big deal.
It was a big deal. And so we're going to kind of give some things to help you prioritize.
Just think along with us. We're just putting this in the front of your minds for everyone to kind of start thinking about these things and how they impact in your life, and make your own adjustments for your life and your style, and the places where you're weak and places that you're not very strong, or that you are very strong.
Well, and today, when she started talking to us, and she's like, I need some help with, it's like it was a divine appointment today.
Right.
I
had no idea that the reception was going to be so open, that they really were excited to say, oh wow, somebody cared enough. And I was like, oh well, I was just kind of just reaching out. So you don't know, even a little, and you've all heard this a million times, but just a little act of kindness can make a huge difference.
Well,
and it blessed us back
because
equally.
We don't know in our relationships, and this may be the only topic we get covered. I'm just going to tell you right now that this one may go for 30 minutes because I'm just telling you it's so important. The part that's...
I was wondering why you wrote 2, 3, and 4 pages.
But... So today, while we're there having lunch, and I'm talking to her, and she starts talking to me, and she teared up a few times, and I teared up a few times, and we're just kind of, we're just enjoying catching up about life. Her kids and her her grandkids and great grandkids and my kids and grandkids, and we're just talking, and she's just like, just don't let this be the last time, and you don't know how much joy this brought to me, and oh, I love you, and all the things that a relationship should have. And this is a friendship relationship. I mean, these are people that I love dearly.
Basically, calling out for the relationship to become more stable, steady,
and not
consistent.
Something from the past, and only to see each other.
New memories, not old memories.
Right, and then it was, I need you to come to the house and help me with this, and oh, I've got a couple of these things. Oh, baby, your mom woulda, and she brought up my mom, which sent me straight into the tears, and because my mom and Joyce loved each other very much, and it was just, the part about it was, I didn't even have their phone numbers before today,
because they've moved more than a couple of times.
But I didn't even have their, but I didn't reach out, and
Yeah.
I think that's the part that I'm trying to get people to understand. How many times do you reach out? We'll go to your family even.
Right.
When we first got married, I had to force you to go even visit your family.
That's right.
And I did it a lot. And then I got to the point where I didn't want to force you anymore, and we didn't.
I used to use the excuse, and sometimes you need to have this excuse, but mine wasn't such a drastic situation, where I just kind of felt like some of the situations at that time, they've changed a lot since then, were a little more than I wanted to deal with. There were some hotbed topics or issues with the family that just weren't going so super swell. So I was like, you know what? The way I dealt with it was, I just won't go out there. I don't want to have to deal with some of these things that I find unappealing or that I just don't like the situation, that are kind of traps. And then as years went on, those things kind of evolved and changed, and I enjoy going out there now. But if I hadn't broken my original thought pattern, my original habit was to go as once, twice a year. I was a terrible son.
But you didn't. Your parents, once
terrible
a year.
Brother.
Your parents drove here for the most part. But my point being, in the last 3 or 4 years, when we really started working on relationships,
and I do it even here. You told me, it's like, look, we need to schedule these things, because if you're going to be busy and you schedule everything else in life, there's nothing wrong with scheduling your relationships. Not for everything that you're going to do. You need to have personal relationships, but you've got to have times that you set aside, that you plan for, to go out there and spend quality time. You just can't say, well, a lot of people, go through life by the seat of their pants, and they can pull that off. That's not our style. So we tend to like to plan these things ahead and make sure that we have quality time set aside so we can focus on those that matter to us, and we're not just swinging by and giving you, 2 bits on the way.
And sometimes, that's part of what we want to get into. Okay, so we talked about relationships. I don't want to necessarily go over all 6 of these right now, because I want to get into, I know I'm just all over the place.
You're just flaky today.
I am flaky. Well, I don't know. I mean, we could go over all of these in the general sense, because we're spending a lot of time on the relationships part.
Right.
I want to get to
You're the quarterback. Call the play.
I want to get to this
Call the
part.
play.
I want to get to this part. Okay, so we know that relationships are the most important. We also know that taking care of your health, and you can tell by looking at us, we have not taken care of our health, but we are on the road to having done that, or getting started with that, and putting health first or second or whatever. Contribution for most of us, a lot of people want to do something to help in their community. You want to do something good for somebody else, and that's all that means. Is the
I think it's more than that. I think contribution is a significant part, even though it's number 4 on my list. If you're not contributing, then that must mean someone else is contributing for you. And that, to me, it seems like in order for you to become a pillar of your community, you need to be contributing something, paying back. You need to be involved in the church. You need to be involved in your community. And those are the kind of contributions we're talking about. There's also personal contributions that you can do, not just monetary, personal contributions that you can do within your family, within your community, and across the board. So I think a contribution is important for the value of a human to have its place. I didn't feel like I was contributing anything. I'd feel like I was being taken care of.
Would you feel like someone? Okay, let's say a rich person, not knocking the rich, but a rich person just throws money. I'm going to go give $1 million to the hospital, but I'm not. But I'm not going to go do anything. He's just throwing money at it because he's rich and that's all he wants to do.
Right.
Is that a real contribution?
Yes.
Okay.
A lot of people like to demean that, and
I'm not demeaning. I'm asking a question.
Because first of all, we're talking about somebody who's wealthy, and the very first thing off the tip of my tongue is going to be:
they're busy.
Is that no?
Yeah,
it's that person has wealth. They generated wealth. Unless we're talking about blue bloods that have money that was handed down from generation to generation, and they never worked for it. But if you're a wealthy person, most wealthy people in this country generated the wealth. There's very few blue bloods, especially down here in Texas. That's normally northeast type situation.
Right.
That wealth has generated lots of jobs. Those jobs have contributed to a lot of families' well-being because it's created wealth.
So that's their contribution.
Their contribution actually is that, and I think that's a totally valid. And if that person who spent a lot of time creating a product or creating a service and creating wealth, obviously if they're doing it with the benefit in mind of those that they have hired for them and they're treating them fair and well, then I think that that's completely legitimate. And then if they felt like they really didn't have the time to get down in the trenches because they're already in the trenches. We forget they're already in those trenches. So now they want to give a bunch of money to a police department or a wing of a hospital. Great. That's two. Now that's a double dip. I think that's great. I have no problem.
I just wanted to clarify.
Now, I would encourage them to also personally invest.
But they may not have the time.
Elsewhere. Yes. Right. So there you go.
So let's talk about meaning.
Meaning is terribly important. I have it as number 3 on my list because we had the number 1 and 2. Number 1 was friendship. Number 2 was health. You can't do a whole lot if you're in a sick bed. So here we come with number 3.
We both realize we're overweight and we need to be doing something to lose weight.
Right.
And
so we can be more active,
getting healthy,
more energetic to do more because we need more energy for all the things that we're doing.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, we've discovered that there's supplements that we both can be taking and some vitamins that help us. But eating right is our biggest one.
Oh, and there's that exercise thing. I don't want to talk about that
walking
very much.
And exercising. And those are all things that we've been working on. And I have to say, because emotions over the last year have been really crazy and knocked out, we have not done the way we should have.
Well, this current situation that we're all just now starting to
But we use it as an
hopefully
excuse.
passing through. And it's a great excuse. That's what exactly I was about to say.
It's just an excuse to say I can get away with it.
Because it's like, it's stress. Well, we all have stress from a variety of different things.
You're always going to have it.
Maybe not a great big giant COVID-19 threat that is definitely got some impact potentially with life-threatening situation. But it is an excuse that we all have. And if you take personal responsibility, one of the things we've talked about is the idea of taking that on. And you have a topic that you're going to talk about later on that you talked about with when you realize changing yourself is oftentimes the way that you...
That's next week's, actually.
And we'll talk about it. I don't want to let that out too early.
I remember. Yeah. No.
That's
just a little bit ago. That's our Saturday night topic.
We're both now. We had a hard... We both had it.
I'm so excited. A little while ago, I've been praying all day. God, I said
all we had to do is start talking, see? And we remembered. She remembered earlier, and I just brought it back to her.
Well, I remembered a little while ago. Y'all, we talk constantly. So yesterday, we were taking a nap after church before we were going
we don't
to
do
go
that
do
very
something.
often.
No, but we did. And
I wasn't even sure I wanted to do it because I didn't think it was going to be long enough or quality
It wasn't.
enough.
It was a horrible nap. But anyway, and I told him, I was like, okay, so Saturday small group, I want it to be about this topic. And then I forgot. Because I didn't get up and write it down.
That was the point.
Which is my point. And so...
Neither did I.
Today, this afternoon...
Hey, guess what?
It's...
You know what this is? This is my alarm. Scheduling something that I'm going to talk about here in a minute.
So, anyway, today, just before we started this, I remembered that. And I'm going to write it down.
I'm going to write it down now. Okay, back to the meaning. To me... Now, when you're talking about meaning, you're talking about purpose, right? meaning and purpose coinciding, or did you mean to separate meaning and purpose? And she's not listening because
I am. Right and you just tell me what you think.
I've combined those two in terms of the having meaning for your life, or in my case, like to kind of, the purpose-driven life, so to speak.
But what is your purpose?
And it changes over time for various people. But to even ask yourself, so many people, what is your purpose? They'll look at you with a stupor on their face. What do you mean, what's my purpose? Answer that question. Everyone needs to answer the question.
If you don't know what your purpose is,
make it your purpose.
Every season, first of all, you're going to have different purposes, because there's a time you're a parent, there's a time you're a spouse, there's a time you're the child, there's a time you're a sibling or a friend, and all of these may be on the same day. You're just in a different little frame at that point in time. But your biggest purpose, because God created you, is to bring glory to God. That's our purpose. Whatever we do should be affecting the rest of around us. You throw that stone into the water to get the ripple effect. Okay, so everything we do will cause a ripple effect if we're doing it right. And are we doing bad, mean, horrible stuff, or are we doing fun, loving, sweet, respectful things that's going to help the other people? But your purpose is going to bring God glory. So sometimes me bringing God glory is just making sure he's fed for the day. That could be it for that day. Another day might be going and seeing friends and having lunch with them for 3 hours. It's seriously, you just don't know. So you really that's kind of a fluid.
Yeah, I think those are, I was thinking purpose more. Those are situational purposes. I'm thinking purpose in terms of life issues. Obviously, those things do change, but I mean in terms of what is it that's bringing value to you? And obviously, when you bring glory to God, the process that you use to do that with, whether that's through building churches or by being a public defender and defending people from injustices, and you do these kinds of things in order to the best of your ability and to glorify God, that gives you value. That's what the value of your life is. If you're just a taker and you sit and those are
but you
situations.
Have hopes and dreams that
hope
God's
is
placed,
a big part of that.
God's given you hopes and dreams for your life, for your future, which gives you the purpose. Hopefully you find, Allison stated, fulfillment and in your purpose. It's going to bring meaning and fulfillment to your life.
Correct.
But if you're only getting, and I totally agree with that statement, but if you're only getting meaning and fulfillment for yourself and it's doing nothing for anyone else, then that's a selfish thing, and that's not really your purpose, because that's not what God put us here for. But having meaning and fulfillment in your life, even us sitting here and doing this, is bringing us fulfillment, and we've already been told by other people how much this has helped them.
Right, and being careful not to define yourself by the things that you necessarily do, but at the same time, define the things that you do that they become unto the Lord, or that they become valuable to others, that they add value to your community and to others.
Right.
And there's nothing wrong with somebody doing something even just for yourself, but that's not a primary purpose.
No, but
that
I'm talking about God's purpose for your life, which is what she's talking about.
And even He'll allow you to have some of those moments.
God has a purpose for you.
Yep.
It's going to bring meaning and fulfillment. It's going to bring Him glory. You're going to have fun with it, generally speaking. When you're only out to do it, on the I'm talking about people who are only doing it to put themselves in the limelight and to get glory and look at me. That's not really a purpose. That's just I don't know what my word is, but that's what I'm talking about. So I'm totally off.
So that was number 3, but number 4, we went back to you already mentioned it was the contribution and achievement. Well, number 4 on my list was contribution and achievement. So as you do your meaning and purpose, that's what generates your contribution and achievement. That's why I went back to that, is because that...
Yeah, your meaning will lead to your contribution.
Yeah, one should lead to the other. Right. Otherwise, like you were pointing out, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy of selfishness. So,
oh my gosh, that's another good
self-fulfilling prophecies?
Yes.
Yeah, we got a lot. I say it a lot because there's a lot of it out there. Because
I used to have one.
Yeah, one? We all have them every now and then.
Okay, but mine was bad. Okay, so...
Number 5. Yeah. Happiness. Yes. Well, that's got to... we got a lot to talk about in terms of happiness. Well, let's first clarify the difference between joy and happiness. What you got?
Me?
Yeah, you talked about it just a while ago.
I did.
You did good. You did well.
I did. Okay, so Paul
both.
tells us in the New Testament, our joy really comes from God, and in our walk with God, that's where we get our joy from. And there's a whole devotional book. If anybody wants to know what it is, it's called Joy. I can.
What's it called?
You just message me. It's called Joy.
Joy.
And it's really, really good. But it is based on Paul's writings in the New Testament about joy. But the thing with joy versus happiness is, joy is a constant. It doesn't go away. You should always have joy because your joy is found in God.
Right.
Happiness is fluid. Happiness can be, you see these people who are always happy. Well, technically, they're always full of joy. And they do have times where their emotions change from angry to sad to disappointed to, whatever, and happy, of course. And our goal is to be happy.
Right.
And it, Paul says that my mind is not where I need it to be because it's going everywhere else. But
you got too many.
It's all coming in at the same time. But to be content, to have your joy. All of this is in our relationship with God. All of this is based in that. And when we step away from that, we lose the joy. But you can still have your happy moments. But the true joy
is a choice. You choose joy. I wonder what radio station does that motto.
Well, but anyway. It is. You do. You choose joy.
You choose. You get up every day and you choose joy.
Yeah.
And that's how you do it. You can't get up every day and you can strive for happiness. You may not reach it each day, but you can always reach joy. And that's what we wanted to make sure right off the bat was the fact that is one of the things that's sustainable, is to always reach for joy. It's always there to be had, even though your situation might just suck. You still have joy through it all because joy is tied to hope and hope is tied to God.
Well, there's a difference. I'll talk about myself. I will tell on myself right now because a few years ago, 15 probably, I was always, I look back now and I'm like, wow, how did you have any friends? Because that just was awful. An awful person. And I don't mean I was mean. I wasn't mean. I was just sulky and I was really hard on myself and just always down. And I just, I look back and I'm like, I was always, the faith that I have now that God can do anything. Where was that then? And who was I? Why was I that way? And it really bothers me. But the reality is,
because we're all on a road, my dear.
We are, I know. But I feel like I have found the joy. I may not wake up in the morning and be perfectly happy, but I still have the joy of the Lord. And I know that sounds cliche, but it's true. And I do choose it. And I used to tell somebody else, it's a choice that you make every day when you get out of bed. And they were not happy with me saying that.
Because they didn't understand it. If you're not happy with that statement, it means you haven't found the value of joy.
Now, our next part, and we probably should be hurrying,
Yep.
is, okay, so we've given you these top 6 things. And making money is not a sin. We've got wealth as last. There's a lot of rich, happy people, and they do really good things with their money. So that's awesome.
Well, I put mine last primarily because I want these other things in place.
My point was going to be...
support that.
Well, you made earlier today, you made the comment about, rich people are not always happy.
That's true.
And they don't have joy. Because the only thing they're living for, the only purpose they have is money.
Some, yeah. We're not broad stroking.
Okay, I'm talking about there are some people, and wealth, the love of money is what's not great. It's not money itself. It's when that's what you live for.
Right.
We talked about the movie.
They're trying to fill a hole, potentially.
Right. And usually it's something to do with... maybe something that happened in their childhood, a parent-to-child relationship, and they have to prove their parents wrong or whatever. But we talked about Elf. Yeah,
Elf, the movie.
Yes, because that's
Christmas
a big
movie,
one.
that one?
Yeah, because that dad...
was a corporate jerk.
Okay. He put his...
We keep it simple here, folks. We're talking Christmas movie Elf. All right, here we go.
Right.
Yeah, everyone's seen it. We don't have to worry about it.
I know you've seen it. So talk about it.
Well, the fact that there's this guy who was we all know the story. The guy was dedicated 100% to making money. He didn't care if the books he sent that he published were missing pages. He didn't care. He just wanted to sell you an inferior product.
Yes.
And that's generally an unkind, unrealistic view of major portions of corporate. But there are corporate out there that are that way. It's not all. But anyway, the idea being that there is a large swath of people out there who have their purpose and is to get up every day and make more money, more wealth, and it's very selfish. And along the way comes this completely childlike innocence into his life, and this innocence reveals himself to him. All of a sudden, this man
finds how important
he
relationships.
Sees,
we go back to what we
but
have as
first,
number one.
He can see how he is treating the world so poorly. In turn, is how he's treating himself. He learns ultimately at the end.
Right.
He doesn't even like who he is, all right? He's just, I've given up on everything. His relationship with his wife and family is gone, the whole 9 yards. But this innocence comes into his life, and he mistreats this poor guy. And he starts to realize after he's now he can see the damage. It becomes personal to him. And he can see the damage of not having the proper kind of meaning or the proper kind of value or purpose in his life, and he transforms himself.
But he saw the damage that he was doing to his family, and he made the choice for the family and the relationships, and that's kind of part of why we do what really matters.
Right. We're hoping to be that innocent.
We're hoping to be elf.
Yeah.
And be an elf for everybody, because we want people to have the good relationships.
Right.
And we have come to see a lot of relationships, even ones that are supposed to be really great relationships.
Oh, I just got a hankering for cotton candy.
Having so many issues.
Syrup. Those are the things he loved the best.
But I am now being serious. But there's a lot of relationships that we see that you would think were, the perfect relationship. And there's not such a thing. I'm just saying. Nobody's got a perfect relationship, but the ones that even the really good marriages and the people who have learned, and they do, even with us, and we've done a lot of growing in our relationship even through this, but I am just so surprised at how little of a relationship some of these people actually really have, and it's really sad to me. And that's why when we bring up Elf, is because he didn't have a relationship with his wife or his child.
Right.
And then Elf comes along and he doesn't like him, and then
nobody.
But then at the end he realizes, well, everybody loved Elf.
No, not him. I mean
okay.
I mean even his employees.
But he comes to find his, he comes to find the relationship part, and that's what we want to do.
The whole point being is he redirects his purpose. He totally redirected his purpose from himself to others and dedicated it and put it back in there. But one of the things in keeping with your relationship. Today, when we went out there impromptu, had this great meeting with some old friends.
That's the part that's awesome.
And we decided to do it as opposed to not do it. And that little hair trigger, we could have just as soon said, nah, I don't have time. But we decided this time to go yes, as opposed to, nah, we're not going to do it. But I tell you, one of the things that was the prevailing theme all day long, it was driven down in down my throat all day long. All I kept seeing, and it's all I could see all day long. Every story was a story about family, friends, relatives, etc. Old church situations and stories. Relationship. Good ones, bad ones, good ones, horrible, changing ones,
but
successful
all of the
ones.
Topics today were about relationships.
And that's what
we were all talking about. Because
when you get together, the things you recall and you remember are people.
Yes.
And there's some events that are in there, but you remember most and talk the most. What did we bring out? Did we show pictures of each other, of buildings or of grass or of yards? No, we showed pictures of people. People that were valuable to us, and they had them all lined up. Oh boy, ask old Poppy to bring you some pictures, and there they come. So that was the important thing to me today. We got to see some precious babies. Yeah. So it was driven home today. That's why we came here today. Relationships. We forget so much
Okay, so let's talk about, because I always want to try to keep these. Yeah, we're going long. Again, we're trying something new. We want your feedback. We're talking about the top 6 things that really matter in life, that should matter to you. That is going to be relationships, your health, your meaning and purpose, your contribution to society. I am all lost. Happiness and joy, and then wealth. Those are your 6 things. But how you apply those to your life as well as your relationships, and that's very important. Of course, God should be first through all of this. We will, we clarify that.
Right.
So we're going to tell you a few things that I think will help, and this is what
this
we've
is the tools section.
This is the tools that you need. A calendar and an alarm right now. Those are the ones you need. But the biggest thing is, so every day, we talked earlier that you have to complete certain tasks. I mean, everybody has tasks every day, but you got to prioritize. So you have to we've come up with, set 3 important tasks to complete each and every day.
Right.
What would you say if I said I need 3 important tasks to complete tomorrow? Besides going to work. Work is one. I know we're going to work. That's one of my important tasks. Right. I have a job. What would be my other 2?
Well, one of them we can always check off is spending time with God, devotions, or whatever. You can always set that one across the board.
That really should be the priority.
Yeah. And that's the one, I do it, you can do it early, you can do it late, doesn't matter when you do it.
Right,
but that's one of the ones. That's why you heard my alarm go off a while ago, so that's why it was easy. So that's one of the ones you can set. And you can set that one every day.
Right.
Done. Okay? It doesn't have to change.
Okay.
What you study or do can change. Another one's, to me, what you mean in terms of setting a task?
Whatever tasks, but the tasks, this is what I think people need to think about.
Right.
Somebody like you who y'all didn't have, it takes a lot for you to call your family members.
Right.
That's a task.
And you could set it up ahead of time. These calendars on these phones are wonderful. We all use them for all kinds of things. Start using them for personal and relationship-generated things.
Right. So
tonight,
you can make
I was
list.
going to call my father, and she had to remind me about it. I didn't put it on my phone, but she did remind me about it because if I didn't, it would just get pushed and pushed. And we spoke for 10 minutes and got off the phone, and it was no big deal.
I think that's the other thing. People feel like you have to call and talk for an hour to your family
members. No, that's the opposite of what you're supposed to do.
You call every couple of weeks for 10 minutes and make it short. I don't really want to be on the phone. Believe it or not, I don't want to be on the phone with my kids for an hour either. I'm just saying. Right. I'm being really honest. It's great when we are, but sometimes I have other things to go do. I don't need it.
There's still some people that call every day when they're adults with their whatever. If that works for your family unit, great. I think that's
okay.
Much.
So when we're talking about doing the tasks, though, we're talking about you go to work, you
Obviously.
Make sure your house is picked up, you're going to cook food and eat it.
Yeah, those are.
But you need to also include in those tasks that you make the phone call, you go for the visit.
We make sure, tasks,
we got to pick up dry cleaning. We take bacon to Dad. Little things that we need to make sure we schedule some tasks. So make sure that you have 3 important tasks every day. They're going to be different, generally speaking, every day. Even if it's like today, I have to clean the toilet. Set 3 important tasks.
Hopefully you can find, primarily we're talking about important tasks. These are kind of daily tasks.
But I think
those still matter. But I mean, try and find.
Don't clean your toilet for a couple of weeks. It's going to be nasty.
It speaks for itself, I think.
Just
I've been places where it's not speaking to them. I don't know. But being important, make those tasks reach other people. Don't make them all self-serving.
This is part of your
The idea is creating tasks to touch other than yourself or your immediate environment. To me, that's what this is talking about.
Right.
Phone calls to your family, visiting with God, spending time with Him, calls or go visiting, helping others when you can. Make yourself available outside of yourself 3 different ways each and every day in some way.
Yes.
It could be as small as you want it to be or as big as you want it to be. But the idea is
get out of yourself.
And it can be as simple as
sending a text.
It could.
To somebody. And they
Touching
just need
someone.
to know that they are, loved. And so they want to be. So the other one.
text messages every morning to people who...
I stopped for a couple of weeks. Not one person noticed.
That's not
one.
true. You did
not one.
No, you don't know that they don't notice. They just haven't
didn't say
said
anything.
anything. And that's what we're talking about tonight is start saying things to other people, reaching back and letting them know. If someone reaches out to you and you don't ever respond back, look, it left a void.
I told them, because it's like family members and kids and close friends, that, I send out a daily prayer. And I'm like, you don't have to respond every day because,
I don't respond, but I receive it every single
never
day.
Respond.
I know I've done it twice.
Okay, so next we want to provide value in everything we do. So even... Again, I'm going to go down to just a simple basic. If I'm making him a grilled cheese, it's got to have a lot of butter. It's got to be toasted
cheese,
just
baby.
right. It's got to have, you know what I'm saying? The value of putting things together and making sure things are done correctly. But spending time with other people, going back to the relationships. And we're going to use today as the big example because that's what God gave me to use. We got there a lot of times, as if you couldn't tell, we both like to talk.
No kidding.
No kidding. The couple we were with says we're interrupted. Okay, it came back.
No, it's red again.
No. It was spinning, and now it's not spinning.
All right. Yeah, but it went too bad. All right, we're back. Sorry, internet. What can you do?
Anyway, so they both like to talk a lot, and when we're with them,
if we hook this thing up to a thing where every time we talk it generates power, we'd never. Anyway, go ahead.
We sat and listened so that we could hear. And that's very valuable. That's what I'm talking about here. When you're providing value and all you do is that you listen so that you can hear what they're saying and respond accordingly.
That's right.
And actually, sometimes you need to show some emotions with, being happy and sharing in their good times. Right. But you also need to be... like I said, Joyce and I both teared up at different times with different things because of what was going on in each other's lives.
Because
and
the conversation brought value to things you shared.
Yes, but we were both listening.
Yes.
The value of our actions. So now
the reason
we
why I'm
taught our
laughing
kids
is we overtalk each other a lot because
all the time.
We've already know what the other person's going to say. So I already know. So it's like we tend to do that because we already, even when we haven't spoken ahead, we already know what that person's thinking. So we're speaking to the thought as opposed to the words. But we do communicate that way. And for some silly reason, people find that entertaining. But that's all right.
Apparently, I do it more than him. But that's not true. That's
I'm glad you
just
find
on
it
here.
entertaining.
So providing value in all that you do is even in the little things around your house. Drayton, we're going to talk about our kids for a second because out of the blue decided to start woodworking a couple of years ago. And I've never seen anyone so meticulous and so, I'm trying to...
He should be a master...
The value in his work is the master craftsman.
He should be a master craftsman in time as he does it, yes.
It's just amazing to see the quality that he puts into it. And those are the things that,
strive for excellence.
And Crystal with homeschooling.
Oh,
and
boy.
I do not think everybody's a homeschool person.
No.
I'm not pushing it.
I don't think most people are. It takes a special person to do it.
But the ones who do it when they do it right, and Crystal has found her niche, and she does a beautiful job, and you can see she's putting value into her children.
Sure. What better place to put your value?
Kenzie's 2 years old and knows that it's school time when the boys are doing school. And so it's just, you've got to provide value in everything you do. This is not just about your work. Oh, I have to go to work and I don't feel like working today, so I'm not going to, because trust me, I've been there.
Right.
But this is in everything that we do. I'm unloading a dishwasher. I hate it. I despise it. I don't know why. Oh, please God, I never want to have to unload a dishwasher again. I hate it with a passion. With a passion. I know, but I just
the reason
don't.
why she hates it is because she can't reach half the things.
Probably.
Once she gets it out, she
I don't
can't
understand it.
These little T-Rex arms can't reach high enough to get up to the shelf, so it's very frustrating.
Okay, so we want to talk about planning for the long term. Long term, save your money. Don't be a spender. We know all that kind of stuff.
Keep up with your 401.
Keep up
with
with
all your stuff. It pays off in the long run.
But it should also include your family, your friends, your work, God. Where do you want to be? Okay, so we do our planning right now based on We know that retirement, but he's not ever going to retire, and I know that, so I'm okay with it. We're always going to work. And I don't mean it like all full time. It's just that's not in his blood. And the reality is a lot of people don't ever really want to retire. They like keeping busy. So working's not a fine.
Once I'm 75, I think I'm just going to pull up my stakes.
You going to go be a judge?
That would be nice.
So, so we got to plan for the long term. You do. I mean, we're kind of joking about the retirement, but we're not.
No.
But you have to plan. And so one of the things, using again us as an example, we plan on writing Bible studies for relationships. We plan on writing books that take each tool that we've come up with and put those into books and writing
We're organizing it now.
So we're planning these things. We're working on trying to make sure we have more professional, our video things here are not as homey or hokey or whatever as they seem to be. So we're planning for the long term because we want this to grow. But you have to do that with your family and your friends. You can't expect somebody to be there for you that you've never invested in. So you can't call on somebody that you haven't talked to in 10 years and say, I need you to come here. So like today when we called them and said, hey, you want to have lunch? We want to treat y'all to lunch. And we haven't seen you in a while and we just really love you. We were reaching out to them and we wanted nothing in return except, just to visit.
But we were expecting,
I thought, if she didn't feel well or if he was busy, because he is a judge.
Well, it was totally on the fly,
and it was just on the fly. They didn't have to put out their time for us, but they did, which spoke volumes. So we both are planning for the future relationship with each other. Have a clear vision. I'm sorry, I'm talking again. It's your turn.
What do you mean? You just don't like this topic?
No, it's just I don't want to be hogging the conversation.
Well, the idea of a clear vision is we just talked about the idea of long-term planning, but you got to know where you're going to go. Get a clear idea of what it is and where it is you want to go with your life, with your relationships, etc. You already know that relationships are going to have change. I mean, your kids grow and they go
let me know.
You want okay? She wanted me to talk.
There we go. Well, you mentioned the kids growing up and going away. Let me tell you something. One of the things they do not prepare you for when you have children is they go away. And
they say it.
No.
But not.
You are not prepared. You are not prepared. I'm telling you, women. If you're raising babies, when it's time for them to go away, it just ripped my heart out. Other women, probably not, but for me, it was the hardest. That was the hardest transition in my life. It was. And then God used all that to make me where I am now.
Right.
But no, that one, there's nothing.
So back to the concept of having clear vision. She's saying it's clearly a vision
of pain. Your heart
That's not what we're talking about.
Ripped out of you.
The idea is as you communicate
and then you heal.
About the things that we talk about, communicating about everything from relationship through all of the different things that we're talking about tonight. As you do that, clarity comes to your relationships and your household and your thoughts and your words. We have shortened so many words and just a couple of catchphrases that we do now. Clarity is the result of action planned. Yeah. So when you do purposeful things in your life, if you add too much
information, which we're probably doing
tonight. Yes.
It does it's a little much. So I hope y'all take notes.
It's more kind of say it's more.
Play it again.
It's more of a text. It's like, should we get chalkboards behind us now? It's like Professor. Anyway.
Maybe. I'm just hoping y'all are getting
something
out of this.
When I mentioned that, the next thing on our list is obviously getting those boards. Create a dedicated vision board, planner, or calendar. What we're saying here is you've talked a lot. We've done a lot of different things. Write it down and make it put in action. You can change directions as long as you know you have a direction.
I'm not the only one. My sister commented too how hard it was that she was not prepared or ready. Abigail grew up and went to college too, and she did never come back home. Right. And so she wasn't prepared for that. And it's like, so for me, Crystal was just out on the road, and I was still raising 3 boys, so that one wasn't very hard, but she was so much older than the others that transition was easy. But when the 2 boys went away together, I lost 2 at the same time. That was just, oh my goodness. So we do have to plan for that. Go on to the next one. Oh, did you already start it?
I already did. Well, you just jumped back. But anyway, the idea of creating a dedicated vision board, planner, or calendar. What we're really saying, that's what I'm talking about. Writing the stuff down. Got to take. Here comes the last one.
Well, no. Well, okay.
We're all over the place tonight.
No,
you need to find
you're
the lane.
talking about creating the vision board, the planner, or calendar. I want to clarify. You don't have to make this really hard. Because, I mean, the vision board is usually, for you and your spouse or yourself. And you hear it a lot, especially if you're in a business for yourself and you're making all these goals. This is what I want to achieve. And, this is what I want. Or even in your partnership with Tom, you make a vision board that these are the projects we want. This is what we want for our employees and those kinds of things.
What's next? A mission statement?
Yeah, well, that's kind of what I'm trying to say. Even though you may want to, because he and I could do a vision board because we've got so many things out there and it might bring clarity. But if you're talking about just in your relationships, it's not as big, or it doesn't have to be that big. It's just get out your phone with the calendar, or if you're like me and you're old school and you like this, that's me.
Yeah.
I like both. Then you have your calendar. That's, make sure you keep that up.
It's not hard.
And then when the alarm goes off, don't ignore it.
The hard part.
That's where people...
Knowing what to put on it isn't hard because you're communicating.
It's actually using it.
It's doing it. Mm-hmm. Discipline. Mm-hmm. That's hard. Getting in the discipline of doing it. Because when you go through all these things, you start talking, ideas come, writing the ideas down. That's enough of a challenge in of itself because you get all caught up in it. Or you get done and you're like, what did we just say? Because we had some good stuff. And then you write it down. And
that's why I'm like, we need a video thing. We need to video everything we talk about because we've lost so much content.
I'm one of the guys, you can ask me, how do you want me to say this? And I will tell you the sentence. And you're like, what is it you said? And I said, it was beautiful. It was eloquent. But I have no idea. It's like, oh, that was so well.
I'm not kidding about having the camera sitting around the living room that record all the time and in our car. Because there's so much that we talk about.
No problem. And it would probably catch it all. Then you've got the next task. You got to sit down and edit it.
I can do that. That part's not a big deal.
That's the hard part.
Set aside your back. This is the last one.
We promise it's the last one.
It really is.
You promise?
Okay, yeah.
All right.
Okay, so what really matters? Take care of yourself.
We've just denied ourselves through this whole thing, but... making sure you don't deny yourself.
No, we didn't say to deny yourself. Right. We said make sure these are what really matters. But how are you going to accomplish these things if you haven't taken care of yourself? If you let yourself get sick, let me rephrase that. You can't really help it if you get sick. That's not what I mean.
No, I mean.
But I mean, if you don't take care, if you don't get enough sleep, there's a lot of mental health, because people, and I mean mental health as in, we let ourselves get emotionally drained, physically drained. We don't get enough sleep. We don't eat right.
Right.
We are overbooked with work.
Burning the candle at both ends.
Just going crazy. You don't have any playtime because it's all work and no play. Everybody needs a time of, doing something for yourself. And sometimes it seems impossible. And I'll use my sister as an example right now because she's had a lot on her plate. She's got a lot on her plate. She's preparing, to do some big things in life. And she's got several jobs and she's got, her own business and taking care of her son.
How many oranges can you keep up?
Right. Yeah. And so it's kind of like, when do you get to take care of yourself through all that? Well, to be honest with you.
You schedule it.
Well, you either schedule it or, in this particular case, she may not get to for a couple of weeks. But it still needs to be calendared.
Right, because she's got a lot of things driving a lot of the things.
But that's what I mean. It's all going to be, at the end, it's going to be worth it.
But
she's
for
got
those
a time
things that are in your control.
Things. But you still have to plan, even with her, she's got to plan all of those out so that she can have, I need everybody here on this day. I need people doing this on this day. And those kinds of things, that is taking care of herself as well. Sometimes being able to know when to go call on people to come and help
It's
you
a good thing.
is taking care of yourself.
That's her forte. She's excellent at it. She's the best organizer.
Yeah.
And she can line things out better than anybody. That's a great skill, and it really benefits a lot.
She's an administrative person.
Absolutely.
That's one of her.
Totally.
Yeah.
And she knows exactly how to, all the right questions.
But it's hard.
All the
It's
right
going to be
times.
harder for her right now to make time for herself.
Absolutely.
But, and I'm using her, and I didn't even ask. So if you're
I know.
watching, I'm sorry.
Yep. You didn't give any personal details.
I
so.
didn't. I wasn't trying to. I just know it's hard. My point of using her is it's really hard for people to be able to find the time. And I look at her life or other people that's in a life like that to find time for themselves, to take care of themselves, to spend time with God, to spend, take a hot bubble bath, if you will, if that's your thing, or to sit down and watch a Hallmark movie or, whatever. Watch football. That's my thing. It just needs to be something that somehow gets worked into your schedule.
Yeah, we wanted to make sure that as we went through this whole thing, seemingly sounding like you're supposed to be doing all these things for other people, to not forget that there is value to yourself, and that is something that you should prioritize.
Yes.
And place in there. Don't make it 90% of everything that you do.
No.
But you find a place and a balance in the season of life that you're in.
Make it 0%.
As to what that is. Yes, you can't make it 0%. So take time for yourself.
So I'm going to quickly go over just what really matters. These are our top 6. Relationships, health, the meaning and purpose of your life, your contribution back to society and your friends and family and church, happiness, joy, keep those, up there, and wealth. And wealth, again, we're not talking about being, all richy and whatever. We're just talking about taking care of, making sure that, money does matter. So we've got to be careful with how we do. And then you're going to set some tasks every day to complete. You're going to provide value. You're going to plan for the long term. You need a clear vision. You need to have a planner and a calendar and alarms to start setting things off.
Sounds like a drag, man.
Make you do things. And then set time for yourself. Does it sound like a drag?
Yeah, no, it just sounds like, but it's really not that difficult.
These
It's like
just
setting
some
alarms
tools
and
to
bells
help.
and whistles.
Well,
it's really
but I
not.
think the thing with
I
setting
don't mind mine. At
alarms,
first, I thought it was a big deal. It's like, are you serious?
Well,
you want me to set
a
this
couple
stuff
of years
up?
ago, you
But the
did
discipline.
but a couple of years ago, I'm going to tell on him. A few years ago, you had set the alarm for 9 o'clock every night for us to do Bible study and whatever.
Right.
And it just went off, and you shut the button off, and we never did it. Not that we've never done
Yeah,
it.
but
Don't
I
get
got
me
to
wrong,
check
but
off,
during
set
this time-
alarm,
Yes.
good intentions.
So,
Yep.
no, it doesn't fly that way.
No, it looks that way to other people, though.
No.
If you just, I did it.
No. So when you're setting the alarms, you need to be really honest with yourself and follow through. And if you're not going to follow through, then you don't need to set the alarm.
Yeah, and don't be
And
doing a
at the
video broadcast
beginning,
while you're in the middle of one.
At the beginning, it might be hard to do, but over time, you'll get used to it. Like with yours, and right now when
It's
it
a
goes off
trainer.
every night, it's not that we don't ever do our Bible studies, because we do, but it's nice to have the alarm to remind us it's time to do it right now. Sometimes we don't do it right when it goes off, but it's
Right.
still jolted in our heads that we're going to, and that's kind of really the more of the point of the alarm.
Yeah. So
Okay, so we have been on for over an hour.
good
It's time
Lord.
for us. I know. Sorry, but it's
Y'all still there?
We spent this day today that was really quite amazing.
Apparently.
Just on a fluke. Really?
Right? Yeah.
You didn't enjoy
No,
yourself?
they're an hour long. They're like, oh my goodness.
Because I gave
Shuddy.
him some tools. Really? Do y'all gonna let him talk to me this way?
Tools.
Tools. I was giving them tools to help build what really matters in their lives.
It's true.
That's what we were doing. That's what I felt like today. That's what we were supposed to do.
Feel better now?
Oh, I could keep talking. I got so much bottled up inside me right now.
Are you?
Yes,
Well,
I
you
do.
should probably break them up into half-hour increments.
I'm trying.
Anyway, you're so pumped up. Why don't you pray us out of here?
You pray.
Oh, you're going to put it on me? Good. I'm glad she did. Father, I thank you and I praise you and I lift you up right now. And I just thank you for friends and family.
Yes.
And for even those people the friends that become family, those are super special because
Yes.
it's a special place we find for those people that become near and dear to us. We just ask that we bring more and more people into that position in our lives because that's really what matters a lot. And we're finding that to be so true. And we just thank you for just blessing each and every one of the households out there that are just striving to try and grow and become better and overcome all the obstacles that we face every day, and that we want to become better when our friends and families, and to reach out to them and show value and to create a closeness that we've never had before. And we just thank you, Father, for always being close to each and every one of us, and that when we reach out, you're always there, and that's always the constant. But we just ask that you will remind us each and every day to reach out, touch family and friends, and make the time for all of it, so that what really matters is all of us in the kingdom, Father. We just thank you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
There you go. Reach out and find a new friend, or touch an old one, or so.
Okay, you have to go over there.
We're gonna go.
Close it
See y'all
off.
later. Bye. I gotta get up now.
They don't have a button. We got to figure out how to do this.
Bye.